Hi, Ted Anders again, LoveLight Solutions team. And this topic, or the topic for this video, is what I learned from the Dalai Lama, Nobel Peace Laureate, and Irish Nobel Peace Laureate Betty Williams, both of whom I've worked with many years ago, in great depth. Interesting perspectives. The Dalai Lama taught me and teaches all of us that we need to live with joy and lack of internal suffering, and to be compassionate. And he has told me in person and others, if you can be kind in every challenging situation, then you have become a master of your faith path or your philosophical path. Think about that. When it's so difficult to be kind, and yet we find a way in ourselves to center in the truth that everyone I'm interacting with is an expression of divine source. Every one of us are love-light beings in form, with all the stuff going around our heads, hearts, and belief systems that can delude us from understanding and realizing that. So we've got the Dalai Lama teaching. And then thinking about where we are in our country today with polemics and hatred and dissension and divisiveness, I sat with Nobel Peace Laureate Betty Williams in several countries, and she used to be a cigarette smoker, and she told me one time, she said, "Ted, let me tell you something. Creating peace is not always a nonviolent sport." And she's a person who knew so. She was right in the middle of the Protestant Catholic extreme hatred in Belfast. She was walking down the street one day and a bomb blew up and blew her through a plate glass window, knocked her teeth out, and took one of her kidneys out. So here you have the Dalai Lama, peace, kindness, compassion, and here you have Betty going, well, sometimes when the other side is so hate-filled and they will not cooperate, you end up with violence. What can we take away from that for our country right now? Obviously, I'd like to suggest that we choose kindness, compassion, and we move ourselves each individually out of internal suffering. And that suffering comes from what we believe about others, about ourselves, and about life. And we're walking around, all of us, with some beliefs that do not work anymore. As I said in the previous video, we run around labeling red, blue, white, black, conservative, liberal, this, that, and we lock ourselves into those beliefs. And then if we don't have those beliefs the way we want them manifested in our lives, we suffer. And then many people get angry and take action on that rage. So what I'm suggesting that we do is recognize what Betty said, which is you have to recognize that violence will occur sometimes when you're moving towards peace. Let's try to make that antique by going ahead, each of us, and owning the Dalai Lama's instruction. Choose kindness, compassion, and of course, as he teaches and Buddhist teachings do teach, you achieve that by some what's called detached attachment. The attachment is, yes, I care about all the topics. Yes, I care about what's going on. Yes, I see what's happening. I also recognize that if I try to grab on to a moment or a particular belief or a particular event and make it stay that way, I'm going against everything that is the nature of universal flow. Everything changes. Everything always changes. And we try to grasp onto and hold, this is the only truth, this is the only law, this is the only way of being, then we're setting ourselves up for some real dissatisfaction. Now, within all of that, of course, are core values, morality, and so forth that we can all come to agree on. That's the work we have to do. So let's recognize that Betty would say, don't necessarily go violent, but be bold to stand up for your positions. And then let's feed that emotion and feed that effort through what the Dalai Lama teaches, which is do it with compassion, kindness, recognizing that perhaps the position you're struggling to grab onto and dictate to others may not be the only perspective. And calm down and take a look at all the viewpoints and peacefully come together and make a joint decision that works for everyone who is affected by that decision. And sometimes that takes more time. That's consensus building, caring consensus building. And what we're seeing oftentimes in our politics is trying to dictate a way of being or a law. And that, I mean that from any place on that perspective, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. No side should dictate, because that's not leadership. Inspiration, causing people to come together and use the best of all their talents and thoughts and energy to come to a patient consensus, is the most effective leadership for our country. So, those are some thoughts for today's video.